Hey fellow gardeners, Dawn here from Seasonal Designs. Fall is the perfect time of year to start talking about and getting both our gardens and containers ready for winter. Let's start with planting, keeping things watered, mulching the beds, organic matter, and of course spring blooming bulbs. Fall is a really good time to plant both bushes and trees. As they're starting to have their leaves color up, the trees and bushes are really focusing on putting their energy back into their root system. And so that's a really good time to get them in the ground. The other thing you want to make sure you're doing is you're keeping things watered. So if you had a dry summer like we did, you are going to want to make sure that if Mother Nature is not providing that water for you, that you are keeping things well watered until the ground freezes. Now you can add mulch in the fall, and the other thing that you can add is organic matter. So all the leaves that fall from the trees, I like to just mow them up into small pieces and either leave them on my lawn or better yet, put them in my gardens. So while it's good to go ahead and add that organic matter to your beds in fall, you do not want to do any fertilization with any supplemental fertilizers. You don't want to promote any growth this time of year as things are going dormant. So organic matter, yes. Fertilizer, no. Now I won't go into great detail about bulbs, but fall is the perfect time to plant spring blooming bulbs like grape hyacinths, your crocus, hyacinths, tulips, and daffodils. Plant those all in fall and you will have just a beautiful spring display. Next up are cleaning up my greenhouse, bringing in tender perennials, and protecting things from critter damage. The other thing on my list is cleaning up my greenhouse and making sure that I have room to bring in all the tender perennials that I want to hang on to for winter. And when I talk about fall cleanup, it's very minimal compared to spring cleanup. I'm just gonna vacuum up the bugs and really make sure that I have space for everything. I had a lot of other stuff in the corners. I've cleaned everything out so I have room to move the plants in that I want to move in, because some of this stuff isn't going to survive in or do well, at least in the 30-some degree temperatures we have overnight. So it's essentially making room. I mean, my tomato is not going to do well if it's consistently in the 30s or 40s at night. So everything gets cleaned up. I want to make sure my fireplace is in working condition and is coming on at the appropriate temperature, and just making room for some of the other tropicals that would be in here. This big bird of paradise, of course, wants warmer temperatures, and then adding the supplemental heater as well and making sure that is set to come on at the right temperature as well. And then of course, fans are always operational. We use those a lot in summer, but if I'm heating this up in fall and winter, fans are important to circulate the air. The other thing you want to think about is if you are going to have critter damage. Here in Wisconsin, it gets cold and sometimes we have many feet of snow covering our landscape, and so the critters get hungry and they chew on what is available for them. And so we want to protect. This is a new crabapple tree we just planted this past year, and we want to protect it so that it doesn't get nibbled on. So typically what we do with our newer trees is we wrap the trunk with a sort of breathable protectant, and then we put some plastic around it that will keep the critters from getting in there and nibbling. Next up is winterizing any irrigation systems, cleaning and storing garden tools, and cleaning and storing pots. Now I realize I still have dahlias blooming in this picture, and it is October 20th, and these have really been putting on a show along with my snapdragons for quite some time. But soon I am going to start thinking about things with my water lines? Do I need to blow out my water lines so that they're clear and they don't freeze for winter? Hoses, I'll bring in my hoses, empty those and get those stored away. I'll also look at cleaning all of my tools and getting those stored for the winter. And then the other thing is containers. As my containers get tired, if I'm not going to be putting anything in them for fall, I'm going to get those cleaned out. Those that are small enough will go either into my garden shed or into the garage. And those that are really big and heavy, like this, is made of concrete and it weighs about 500 pounds. This I will simply cover with plastic so that water doesn't get into this bowl and freeze and crack this. To rinse all of my containers out before storing them, both on the inside and the outside. Now, I do have containers that I leave out all year round, even in winter. These two containers here that flank my front walkway are actually made of resin that really look like clay containers, and I've had these for years. And they have done fabulous outside. So when my fall is done, I will pull all of this out and I will add my branches and my greens so that I have winter interest out here for winter.
Next up is planning and preparing for my winter containers.
Well, these are still looking pretty gorgeous for fall. It won't be long before I need to start changing these out for winter containers. And this is the time of year when I really like to put some thought into what do I want to do, because not only do I have a couple sets of my own containers, but I also have client containers that I do for winter as well. So this is the time of year where I may start foraging a little bit. I also go and see, sometimes I use faux berries in my containers. So some of these things I have in storage, but if I'm low on something or something doesn't look good, or maybe I just want to try something new, this is the time of year that I really try to start planning and kind of getting an idea for the things that I'll need to do winter containers.
Those of you who follow me know that I really do not cut back most of my perennials this time of year. The only things I cut back are hostas because they get mushy, phlox, iris, peony, bee balm, and penstemon, only because sometimes they can get like a powdery mildew or there might be a little borer damage, and I like to clean those things up in fall.
This is a hosta that is starting to get soft, and what happens, right, it gets hit by the cold. This is just going to get soft and mushy and gross. So probably in another week, I will be cutting this group of hostas here back. Now these are sedum. Now why would you cut something so pretty back? Isn't that gorgeous? These will get really, they'll just dry up and be brown, but they'll be stiff and beautiful. And you'll be able to get wonderful winter interest from the sedum. I never cut my sedum back. So most of this that you're looking here, I won't cut any of this back. I will leave all of this up. It provides beautiful texture, not only in fall, but in winter. It also provides food for the birds. It provides a place for insects to hide. Stems that are hollow are a great place for insects to hide. So things like milkweed I would never cut back. Just give yourself a break in fall and cut it back in spring.
I thought I would mention a few plants that I like to overwinter indoors. I would love to hear from you guys. What do you overwinter indoors? Pop it in the comments section.
Geraniums are something that I find really easy to overwinter. Some people cut them back and let them go a bit dormant, but I have been letting mine just bloom all winter long. And I start here in the greenhouse and then I move them inside. And I think I'm gonna do that again this year. My coffee cups plant. Now this one tends to not overwinter like growing like normal. It does go a bit dormant. So I'll keep it up and leave it grow for as long as it's looking good. And when it starts to struggle a little bit, I will cut it back and put it in my basement. I just make sure the soil stays somewhat moist. and it's good to go. It flushes out new growth in spring. Hibiscus. Now, this is a pretty large hibiscus. I am going to keep it here in the greenhouse for a while. Eventually, I will bring it into the house and I will let it just kind of do its thing over winter inside. The other thing I bring in is my cute little olive topiary. He'll be coming in inside the house when it gets too cool here in the greenhouse, but I just let him grow. I put him on a windowsill, a sunny windowsill, and cut back on water in the winter time, but he typically overwinters. He'll lose a few leaves, but other than that, he should be fine. This is the first year that I will be overwintering a bird of paradise. Those of you who follow me know that I received this from a fellow gardener, Erin over at The Impatient Gardener, and I am going to do my best to keep this looking good. Well, that is going to be it for today. I hope that you guys found this video helpful and I had some good reminders or some good ideas for you. And thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.